Welcome back to the Divine Deception. Now, when we left off, well, we could go to Locke's next episode. We have another key, but very much planning on going one by one through each character's story at a time. So we're going to go back to Vels, mysterious brawler. Come to Panthea. Made friends with an aspiring author. Just so happens to be good friends with Mr. Yves and the Duats, who we know as a prime contact of our masked assassin, who we see in two later stories. I'm blanking on his name right now, but let's see what Vels is up to, shall we? Visible force. For such a dense city, it wasn't often you saw many people gathered together outside in Panthea. Especially not in a back alley such as this. Oh. This looks like time for a brawl. So many people were occupying the space that, frankly, it looked like it was some sort of health hazard. Perhaps a narrow alleyway in the middle of nowhere wasn't the best location for a group meeting. Then again, considering the nature of this meeting, perhaps it was the perfect spot for it. Either way, something told me that he wasn't exactly thinking about spatial accommodations when choosing this spot. That, or he hadn't realized how many people would be showing up. Maybe he just thought that it'd be a much smaller group. Lord knows I did. It's pretty amazing, huh? Hey, Krish. Krish approached me from behind, wearing their typical shit-eating grin. An expression made only more annoying now that they were justified in it. Surprising. What's there to be surprised about? You should know just as well as I do. As how much the Duats are a complete shit stain. How they are akin to a plague of locusts swarming our whole city and stuff. They're bad for business, they're bad for branding, they're bad for walking down the street. So fucking course people would be sick of it. Of course they'd be willing to stick it up their asses. That's what they want. The people, of course, not the Duats. If the Duats wanted it, it'd be sort of defeat the whole point, you know? Yeah, you get me. So yeah, it's completely expected that the people hate the Duats. That's not what I mean. Oh? Oh, I see. You're thinking, sure, people might not like the Duats, but that's true about a lot of things. You'd be living a pretty sweet life if you didn't have stuff you hated. There are plenty of things I don't like. I don't like what's going on with our government, but you don't see me storming Capitol Hill. Wow. Actually, if you did that, the government might, fight back at junk, so maybe a bad example. Oof. That point is actually what makes it an incredibly apt example. Wow. Impression. Okay, if you don't like a rapper's newest album, you don't go out and find and harass him. Unless you live on Twitter. Some people do, but that's besides the point. Yeah. The thing is, this ain't like that at all. It's a matter of liberties. Civil liberties. Oh no, Krish. It's a matter of not letting your rights get trampled on. On taking a stance. You don't like how a cookie tastes, then you can spit it out. You don't like a TV show, stop watching. You don't like being harassed by a gang, you can't just opt out. Unless you move, but then that's a whole thing that most people can't easily do, and everything so it doesn't count. Point of order. Some things are bad enough to move people to action. Way it stands? Things are like 1984 up in here. It's like Handmaid's Tale. Oh no. Like, The Giver. Like Fahrenheit 451. Quick, Krish, think of some more books. I was mildly impressed that Krish hadn't named a single contemporary YA novel when floundering for dystopia-themed titles. I'd have been less impressed if Krish had rattled off contemporary YA novels. Instead of going for the classics. So again, nothing surprising to me about people being willing to mobilize on this. Again, not what I meant. For real? Surprised that you were able to mobilize all these people. Krish looked genuinely surprised. Seriously? Thought you knew me better than that. Clearly not. Seeing shit like this that makes it crystal clear you ain't local. Everyone in Panthea knows me. I'm a beloved figure around here. But beloved? Okay, maybe not universally, but you get the gist. Me and my Pop's Cafe was one of the hottest attractions in this whole place. Back when it was, functioning and all that. So these people all know you from your father's cafe. Well... Clearly there were a few other ways in which people might know Krish, but pushing on that subject seemed unnecessary. Regardless, you did good work. Really? You mean it? Like great work, or good work? Big difference. I called it good work. Given how surprised you were at the results, wouldn't great be, more, apt? Am I using that right? You are, and it isn't. What surprised me most about the crowd was the sheer variety of people present. This wasn't just a singular group of like-minded peers gathered. It was a coalescence of people from all walks of life. Certainly the group skewed on the younger side. Plenty of people in high school, some a bit older than that, some a bit younger. There were full-fledged adults as well. People in their 20s. People in their 30s. People in their 40s. Even people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s out and about, gathered by some kid in a random back alley. Wow. Instead of reading my mind, Krish spoke up. Kinda impressive, right? That so many different people showed up? See, that's what I'm telling you. This shit affects all of us. Old, young, don't make no difference. Whether it's your father or your son being run out of business or being fleeced by loan sharks or whatever, it still affects you the same. It still drives you to fight. That's why little crusaders gathered all types. Krish said this, but I had actually noticed a unifying theme amongst those gathered. There's one thing in common with every person I saw. Not a one of them looked particularly well-to-do. Okay then, so a decent group's been gathered. Decent? Small alley helps the perception. Talking about dealing with a citywide threat here. It's not about the size of the dog in the fight, it's about the fight in the dog. Sure. So the group's been gathered. What exactly do you hope to get out of it? Huh? What's the purpose of this meeting? That's a good question, Vels. That's a question you should already have an answer to, Krish. What's kind of like a marketing session, you know? Marketing session. I'm imagining a raised eyebrow. That's not right, is it? Networking, that's what I mean. Networking. Business and stuff, you gotta meet people who are on the same wavelength as you. In the same field. It opens doors, having the right connections. And you know this because... the friends told me about it. Is it Yi? Does this friend happen to have the last name of Carnegie? Oh, that too. So this is sort of what that is. We created a network of those against the Duats. That gives us the leg up, you see? Now when we're in trouble, we'll know who we can turn to. United we stand. And that's it. That's it? That's it? That's it? Saying it more incredulously isn't going to change anything. I'm just surprised about how much of a buzzkill you're being about this whole thing. Don't see the value of bringing a network of people together? Not really. You know, I think this might be something for you problem. Maybe. There was an awkward lull in conversation. Couldn't help but notice many of the group's eyes were being pulled in our direction. Made sense since I was standing next to the organizer of the whole thing. So it's just a network, not a plan. We can plan. We will plan. Of course we're gonna plan. It's like Plan Central over here, baby. Krish, you got the spirit, but you're a bit clueless. Planet plan, population us. You're overselling it. Okay, so what is the plan? Well, you know, that's the plan is to get a plan. So you don't have a plan. I got a plan. Or I will. Look, that's what this meeting's for. It's a planning meeting, you know? Meeting to plan shit. What, you think I was gonna plan the whole revolution? Sorta what you made it sound like, buddy. You know me. You know that ain't my strong suit. So why would I be the one to come up with some master plan? When I got a whole alley full of people, most of them probably more qualified to plan shit than me. A surprisingly valid point coming from Krish. That's right, I accept my weakness. Little thing called humblability. Maybe look it up next time you open a dictionary, okay? Okay. And hey, actually, we already do have something of a plan. And why didn't you lead with that? It's all right here. Krish held up the binder they had been clutching in their right hand. We're going to discuss how to use this pretty little thing. What's that? This, my compatriot, is a nuclear missile. It's a weapons silo, a loaded gun. Krish really needed to work on cutting to the point. See, the Duats don't like leaving a lot of evidence about their crime shit, because they're criminals and all. I follow the concept. Right, so not a lot of traces. Actually, sending their men to prison is an issue for the whole host of reasons. Corruption, witness intimidation, pawns willing to take the fall, blah blah blah. So mounting a front against them on the whole evidentiary side of things always seemed like kind of tricky task, you know? I think that line of thinking's total bullshit. Just because it's hard to get evidence on their men, just because there ain't clear use for that evidence, that doesn't mean jack. Hard to get doesn't mean impossible. And no clear use doesn't mean no use. On a technical level, they weren't wrong. So see, when I was gathering everybody up, I asked them to try and track whatever evidence they had against the Duats and bring it. Wasn't expecting much, since it's not like anyone's here has been digging into their shit. When you're terrorized day in, day out, you're bound to take some souvenirs. Picture here, screenshot there. Discarded bullet shell or two. Hey, hold up, that last thing seemed a bit more extreme than the first two examples. And guess what? As usual, the group pulls through. Got a lot of pretty good shit collected in here. Enough to, I don't know, do something. You didn't think the next step through. Like I said, this shit's all about planning. Maybe we tried, like, I don't know, an online campaign or something. Maybe we present it to a private eye. Everybody, there's this new chick in town. Maybe she'll help somehow. Oh, hi, Laverta. Maybe we try the police, you know, hope and pray. Point is, we can do something with all this. Maybe. Good to see you got all this figured out. Hey, you're giving me a lot of shit for someone who's not doing much of anything yourself. To that, I merely shrugged. They raised a decent point. And you know, there's one more thing working in our favor. What? What do you think? Remember what started this whole thing? We got Mr. Yi on our side. What is Mr. Yi doing in all of this? He's Duat through and through. That's definitely gotta give us an edge. I mean, like he said, he's actually a Duat. Okay, so he's on the inside. He's like an inside man. So if there's anyone who would know about how to take down the Duats, it'd be him. Now we got somebody who, like, knows their weak spots and shit, but he'd be super technical. Insider knowledge. Ha! I'll never know what hit him. Actually, fuck that. I want to make him know what hit him. We'll figure out the details later. If you do that, then they can get revenge. Which is bad. But you get my point, right? I do. On paper, it was a solid idea. We really did have a member of the Duats on decent standing on our side. Taking them down would certainly become a lot easier. Having just a single point of contact on the inside of a gang like this really made a world of difference. Which was why I had concerns. Krish, are you sure about Mr. Yi? Oh, he's definitely a member of the Duats. That's not the part I'm concerned about. I've seen him with some of their regulars. He's been with them for a while. That's not... Took a deep sigh. Sounds like he's in decently high standing with the Duats. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense why he'd flip on them. Yeah, I totally agree. It is pretty weird, huh? Well, lucky us. Krish, I'm asking if we can trust him. Can we trust him? Come on, you gotta know the answer to that. I suspected I did. Look, I've known Yi for like a long time. He's completely different than most of those Duat assholes. He's been good to me since I was like a kid. Hell, he's lent me cash a load of times. He's solid. Then why is he a Duat? Krish's expression went blank for a moment. It was as though they could do nothing but blink. Don't worry about it. Why is he a Duat, Krish? Pretty sure it was out of necessity or something. He was in some pretty bad legal trouble a while ago, I think. Duats helped him out, and now he owes them? I forget details. And I'm pretty sure it's not his choice. If you say so, Krish. I guess I'll trust you. What do you mean you guess? Still, it's worth taking some precautions. Precautions? Like what? Out of my pocket, I pulled out a dark purple switchblade knife. Krish's eyes instantly flashed with recognition. Just a glance, they knew what this was, without the blade even having to be protracted. Only kind of precaution worth a shit. I slid out the blade and began spinning it around in my hand. Movements felt natural, like riding a bicycle. It had been many years since I first learned how to use a switchblade. Back then I was clumsy and hesitant. I nicked myself quite a few times. Now, flipping it around in my hand was akin to using a stress ball. Which is why I found it so incredibly rude when Krish grabbed the knife in my hand. The hell? That's what I should be asking you. To my surprise, Krish looked legitimately miffed. It's been a while since I last saw this expression on their face. This is a gathering of allies. This is a united front. No place to be bringing weapons. Bringing something like this, you're undermining the trust this whole thing is based off of. Bring a knife when confronting enemies. Knife among allies is useless. With this cry, Krish turned around and dramatically flung the switchblade up. Oh boy. Went sailing high in the sky, then landed on a nearby balcony overlooking the alleyway. The whole scene had drawn a number of eyes in our direction. Thanks, buddy. Old pal. On second thought, that might have been a bit of an overreaction. You think? For the record, I bring that knife everywhere I go, dumb shit. Oh. Whoops. I'll go get it. Another word, I moved in the direction of the flung knife. Most people, it having landed up high would have been an issue. Not for me. There was a convenient storm drain in just the right spot. Gripped around it and began to scale the wall. It really wasn't that hard in the slightest. Just like that, I made my way to the balcony. There you are, my old friend. As I made that touching reunion, I heard the sound of footsteps. Considering how many people were gathered up in this area, it might not be too big a surprise. No, what was disconcerting about those footsteps was the direction from which they were approaching. Someone was coming from outside the alley. No, not just one person. A few. On nothing more than a whim, I decided to stay perched for a few moments longer. As those figures turned the corner, I instantly felt validated in my decision. Oh, in came ye. Expected? Sure. The expression on his face immediately set off alarm bells in my head. This is not the... I swear that's not the face of... Who are these two? This wasn't a meeting you should feel happy about attending. It certainly wasn't one where you should flash a grin as soon as you see the scene. Nervousness would probably be the most appropriate reaction. Or at the very least, caution. That alone, however, wasn't enough to warrant suspicion. Okay, what really tipped me over the edge was the company ye had brought along. To his left, a giant of a man lumbered behind him. He was, what, 7 feet? It certainly felt that way. He had both a grimace and a scar plastered about his face. It was hard to tell which was more threatening. He wore a dark grey trench coat with a number of questionable stains across the hem. To Ye's right, a heavy-set man followed his lead with much more pep in his step. His outfit was, put simply, garish. He wore a bright yellow overcoat and a fedora which was 2 sizes too small to fit atop his bald head. In contrast to the giant, this guy's expression matched Ye's. The group seemed to collectively recoil as the three approached. Krish, as usual, didn't share the group's sentiments. Hey, Yi, glad you could make it. Well, glad I could come here, buddy. Yeah, I'm just happy you came. I'm happy to come. Great. Awesome. Gotta say, a little late, though. Oh, a little late or a little early? Get what I'm saying? Oh, not really, but then again, when do I? Got that right. The surrounding context wasn't screaming otherwise. You'd almost mistake this for an amicable meeting of friends. Alright, well, glad you're here. With this, we can really get this meeting started, yeah? That's what I'm talking about. Krish, you absolute moron. Really not going to question the 2 guys he brought with him. I wanted to shout at them, but given the situation, I felt compromising my position might not be ideal. Luckily, there was at least one sensible person amongst the crowd. A white-haired girl ran over to Krish and whispered something to them. A look of understanding crossed over Krish's face, and they nodded to the girl. Right. So, you can't believe my manners. Who are the 2 guests you decided to bring here? Oh, these 2? Don't mind them. Well, kinda have to a little bit. Fair enough. These 2 are just some buddies that I thought could be useful to the cause. Are they friends of yours? Exactly. Cool. Cool. Except, and forgive me if I'm wrong, ain't they Duat members? Acting surprised, he looked to his left and to his right, so he was examining the men behind him. Why, I do believe you might just be right there, Krish. Spend some work, then. Oh, well, okay. They also fed up with the Duats? Why don't we ask them? Say, Zauchi, are you getting tired of working for the Duats? Shorter man to Ye's right responded in a similarly glib tone. You know, I think I am. Great! May I ask, what ended up being the tipping point for you? The injustice of it all? How unfairly they treat their members? Dental. Dental? Yeah, they don't cover dental work. I mean, what self-respecting organization can't cover such basics? The friggin' outrage, I'm telling you. Indeed, it's pretty unbelievable. That does sound pretty bad. Krish turned to the giant. What about you? What's your reason for joining our cause? Yeah, Fang, what really grinds your gears about the Duats? For a moment, the giant simply stood there. Then with a sigh, he spoke in a low growl. I dislike these new restrictions. Coming from the higher-ups. Hey, bureaucracy, who needs it? Particularly loathe the new talk of necessary restraint when engaging in beatdowns. It thoroughly hampers my ability to do my job. Yeah, that kinda sounds like a good thing? Gotta be honest, I can't say I love your reasons for just turning against the Duats. Nor do I love yours. Uh-huh. Well, we do need all the help we can get. But like, morally speaking, is it cool to team up with someone like this? Never discourage anyone who continually makes progress, no matter how slow. Little quote from Plato. Surely his presence is a step in the right direction. There's also the argument that the motives and outcomes of actions shouldn't really be factored in when questioning someone's morality. It's too ambiguous and subjective. The wise man lets go of all results, whether good or bad, and is focused on the action alone. That quote comes from Bhagavad, who argues on paying attention to what is evident. If Fang helps a good cause, then you should focus on that. Huh. You know, I guess that all makes sense. Alright, welcome to the group, Fang. Fang stayed in his silence. Smartly, many among the gathered group had begun to have doubts about the current arrangements. Some began looking around for possible means of egress. In that search, they began making their way down the other side of the alley. The dialogue with Krish had distracted him somewhat. He noticed these deserters. It looked as though he was none too happy with what he was seeing. Solemnly, he put his fingers up to his mouth. With surprising volume, he let out a high-pitched whistle. At first, all paused for a moment, curious as to what he was doing. The answer to that became painfully obvious as a door further down the alley swung open. From an innocuous-looking shop, two more figures stepped out into the daylight. Damn it, this location. It was a setup from step one. The two figures who walked out were equally threatening to the other intruders. It was a man and a woman who both looked similar. Siblings, if I had to guess. They both wore a frankly offensive amount of camo gear and denim. Neither of them looked happy to be here. This time it wasn't their expressions which gave off a threatening vibe. It was their weapons. The woman had a metal bat draped over her shoulder. The man boasted metal knuckles on each of his fists. Oh gosh, I really wish we could see these two. Instead of giant and stout man from earlier. So that it had become clear. These two sound infinitely more intriguing. This wasn't going to be a peaceful little meeting. Though it appeared as though Yi was still content with keeping the friendly song and dance up for a little longer. Alright, I should probably introduce these two as well. Ja, say hi. The girl spat on the ground. Yi, you piece of shit. You gotta stop yanking us around for grunt work. You know how long we were waiting in there? Annoyed, the guy turned to Jia. Jia smacked her on the shoulder. She winced in pain. Get it, numbnuts. That's your superior officer you're talking about. Raged, Jia turned back around and swung her bat right into Jia's stomach. Idiot! That fucking hurt, you know? Jia coughed. The swing clearly took something out of him. Bitch. You seriously can't handle a little hit on the shoulder? You're wearing fucking iron knuckles. That's... Fuck off. Oh, I really wish we could see these two. Are they okay? Oh, them. Pay them no mind, they're always like this. Really? Pretty much. That being the case, I'm surprised one of them hasn't offed the other. It's a real wonder, isn't it? Mostly I wonder why I keep them around. Oh, they're amusing enough. That counts for a lot. And I wish those two got art. They sound like fun. Not unlike you, Krish. Thanks. You're welcome. It's a compliment, Krish. Get your damn head in the game. Luckily, even Krish wasn't blind enough to not see the obvious problem those two posed. Say, Yi, I don't want to sound, accusatory or anything. You do, Krish, you really do. It's accusatory, right? It is. Yes, that's proper. Good, good. So, don't want to be accusatory or nothing, but I have to ask, why do your friends have weapons? It's a dangerous world, Krish. Lots of dangerous people. Yeah, not wrong. Maybe they just have that stuff to try and make themselves feel safer. You're not going to infringe on their natural right to bear arms, are you? Don't pull a Lafayette. Don't pull a Lafayette on me, Krish. All I'm saying is that this was supposed to be a peaceful meeting. Bringing these things sort of puts out bad vibes. It's lowering people's trust. Your people don't trust us. Why, that is an issue. Trust is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Exactly. But then why wouldn't you people trust us? What reason would you have to distrust us? Well, you guys are all members of the Duats. True. But then what would the Duats have against this sort of meeting? Krish, how painfully is this dude gonna have to spell it out to you? Well, it's meeting against the Duats. So it makes sense if Duat members would be against it. Uh-huh. That makes sense. Behind him, Zouchi begins snickering. Then if a Duat member heard about a meeting of people opposed to the Duats, what might they do? Well, they'd probably come and ambush us or something. Right. Krish had circled around the issue for long enough. After enough time, there was no more benefit of the doubt to be given. So then, everybody, let's start. First things first, you can all get on your knees. And when those words exited Yi's mouth, the alley dropped several degrees. This brewing tension had spilled out, transforming into pure panic. The crowded bunch began nervously moving amongst themselves, not sure what to do. Everyone obviously wanted out. Then where to go? On the backside of the alley, Jia stood firm. That's pronounced differently enough that I'm completely botching it. Feel free to let me know in the comments. I feel like it should be, yet I feel like I don't see it, so please inform me if that's the case. Alright. Their bickering had stopped. Now they firmly held their weapons. I still wish you could see those two. They sound fun. They deserve sprites. On the front side of the alley, Yi stood firm, backed up by Fang and Zouchi. I noticed Zouchi had already stuffed one of his greasy palms in his pocket. Pretty easily speculate why that might be the case. So that was that. Front covered. Back covered. Like fish in the barrel. There seemingly wasn't any option. That didn't stop Krish. They stood tall and their expression warped into anger. What the hell, Yi? The fuck is up with this? Thought you were on my side. Why are you doing this? It doesn't make a... The sound of Yi's backhand swinging across the side of Krish's face echoed throughout the alley. Brought the chaos to a silence. Even Krish just stood there, stunned at what had happened. He didn't know how to react. The stunned silence only lasted for a moment, though. Yi. Seriously, what the hell are you... Slap. Once more, Yi backhanded Krish, this time with his other arm, with a considerably increased amount of force. Krish faltered, stumbling back a few steps back. This time the silence lasted a lot longer. Krish's face fluctuated between fear and hatred. Once more, Yi reached out to them. This time it was with a look of sympathy. Gently put his hand on Krish's shoulder. Krish, please, could you just be understanding? Get on your knees now. This whole thing can come and go real simply. Begging you, I don't want to have to ask you again. Not you. Krish didn't really know how to respond to this. After a few bewildered seconds, they complied, getting on their knees. Seeing Krish acquiesce, much of the group that was still undecided realized what needed to happen. Collectively, the whole crowd got on their knees. Excellent. See, that wasn't hard, was it? Then in a much quieter and gruffer voice, Yi barked an order. Check him for weapons. Fang nodded, then stepped forward. Apparently, Yi hadn't needed to designate the task between him and Zouchi. Fang began moving from person to person, doing a rough pat-down of each. Many recoiled at the sight of this imposing giant. However, none had the strength of will to do anything more than simply pull back. All let the man do his job. At one point, Fang stopped at an older gentleman. He pulled a pistol from the frightened man's pocket. The stern face, he looked at the gun, then back to the man. Then wordlessly flung the pistol down the alleyway, over the heads of Jia and Jia. With that, he returned to his job. In less time than would be expected, Fang had checked everyone. Well, almost everyone. Then he returned to Yi's side. Brilliant. He then took a moment to clear his throat. He adjusted his tie. He slightly bounced forward on his heels. Clearly, he felt like he wasn't in any sort of rush, which normally was true. However, he hadn't accounted for one person. Me. To be honest, I could anticipate exactly what was going to happen. I figured whatever it was, it likely wasn't going to be good. What could I do? On my own, not a lot, I suspected. Luckily, there was one force in the city meant to handle situations like this. Now, one could argue the fact that this meeting is happening is a testament to the fact that said force wasn't exactly the ideal choice. Ah well, beggars couldn't be choosers. There were limits to incompetence. Duats might be brazen, but they couldn't just do whatever they pleased. When the police arrived, they'd scatter. Then it was just a matter of calling them. As silently as I could, I slid the phone out of my pocket. Cyber aware that even the slightest noise could draw attention my way, dooming this whole enterprise. So even though my progress felt painfully slow, it was necessary. Better to be a bit slower here than to draw attention my way. Soon enough, I had the phone at the side of my head. The phone was on vibrate and the volume was cranked down. And 911. A faint vibrating. I clutched the phone tight, putting its speaker right up to my ear. Then, hello, you've reached the Panthea Police Department. Instantly, in as faint a whisper as I could manage, I began describing the situation. Gave them the address and emphasized how urgent the situation was. And then, before things could go wrong, I hung up. Okay. Looking down, he had begun his dumb shit monologue. No one had noticed me, so now it's just a matter of stalling until help arrived. I'd definitely do something towards that end, but right now I was the ace up Krish's sleeve. Didn't know how much time I could realistically buy. So to make the most use of me, I needed to wait until the last possible moment. For now, just wait and listen. So it's come to my attention that some among you have, let's call them concerns with the Duats as of late. And you know what? That's fair. That's on us. It's only natural that an organization as broad and long-lasting as the Duats would run into the occasional issue or two. And so you might see us as the enemy. But that's not how I see us at all. The Duats are as much a part of Panthea as anything else. We're made up of Pantheans. We're reliant on Pantheans. The city may be hostile towards us, but I don't think that's the right approach to take. I think the Duats serve as a symbiotic relationship with the rest of the city. We need the city to be running well to survive. In turn, we do our jobs, and we do them well. So then as a senior officer of the Duats, I'm very concerned with maintaining a solid relationship. Which is why I gathered everybody here together. You guys wanted to revolutionize the Duats, well, I'm all ears. Behind me, Zauchi was stifling another chuckle. Oh, then let's hear it, people. The Duat suggestion box is open right now, in the form of yours truly. Got a problem with the way we're running things? Speak up. We'll be sure to hear you. And we'll be sure to address the problem. Almost as if to emphasize the point, in a dark irony, Fang began cracking his knuckles. Typically, nobody had the guts to raise their hand and air their grievances. Besides Krish, most of the people here were pretty good at reading between the lines. This was a hollow, almost mocking gesture. Still, he stood there, eagerly waiting for someone to speak up. When it became clear nobody was going to, he began to click his tongue. Nobody. Really. Not a one of you has any complaints. Another pause. Hey, Jia, are you hearing this? All these people. Not one of them's got any complaints for us. It's incredible, right? I know I sure got some complaints. He's asking the people now, Jia. Yeah, I got that. See, even Jia here has her grievances. So none of you guys have anything to say. Last chance, standing right in front of you. More silence. Well, that's that, I suppose. He clapped his hands as though a matter had been settled. As though anything had been settled. Boy, so many of you came here to take down the Duats, yet not a one of you could vocalize your issues with us. Gotta say, I find that a little peculiar. It's got me scratching my head as to why you were all so incensed against us in the first place. More awkward silence. But none of you can offer me any reason. I can only assume that you guys don't have any legitimate complaints to file. Instead, you are all maliciously teaming up against us for some, well, I don't know, half-hearted grudge, perhaps. Now that doesn't sound very fair. People began to swerve. Brings us to our next order of business. He walked over and approached Krish. They couldn't bear to make eye contact with Yi. He smiled at Krish, then leaned down and yanked the file of evidence from their hand. Let's talk about your plans to take down the Duats, huh? Let me guess, you want to try putting us in jail. Makes sense, right? That's what you do with criminals in a just society. Going against the Duats like that seems like a pretty sensible method, yeah? And surely in this big old file there's plenty of stuff that would lock up Duat members. Hell, if somebody were to record all this, maybe they could lock me up. Corruption can only get you so far. Blatant crime just can't get far. But then do you think all this file is meaningful? For waiting for a response, he haphazardly flung the file into a nearby trash can. He snapped his fingers. Like an automated golem, Fang began moving at Yi's command. Lumbered over to the trash can, took out a lighter, and tossed it in. In an instant, flames began to rise out of the can. The group recoiled. All that work, all that evidence. Given the circumstances, perhaps this was the least of their worries. Afraid to say you couldn't be more wrong. Now I'm just as aware as the next person that a lot of what was in there has backups. That fire, it's symbolic. It's saying what you should do with that evidence. Because guess what? If you threw me in jail, hell, if you threw all of us here in jail, you wouldn't accomplish jack shit. Because right after that, the next in line would round you all up just like now. Except that person wouldn't resolve things with just talking. They'd silence you in a permanent manner. He let that last sentence linger in the air. Wanted everyone to digest it. This was the big point he was trying to make. Throwing individuals in jail, yeah, that might have worked on the Duats in the past. That'd work with a lot of smaller gangs. But you're too late for that. Duats are too big for that. There isn't some key point you can strike down to collapse everything. There isn't a heart you can stamp, a head you can slice off. Duats are a shadowy, massive, all-consuming blob that does whatever the hell it wants. It's incredibly cruel towards those who get in its way. At this, there was some whooping from Jia and Zhouchi. Look, you are all looking at me with scared faces right now. You should be thanking your lucky stars I'm the one who's standing in front of you. I'm a sucker amongst the Duats. I'm soft. If it was someone else, who's to say? For instance, there's this new up-and-coming senior officer in the Duats. Name's Lara, a real uppity bitch. She's really looking to make a mark in the world, cement her place. And being the sadist that she is, I'm pretty sure Marduk would really appreciate a big group slaughter of those plotting against him. Immediately, unrest swept across the captives at his implication. Hey, relax, relax. That's why you should be grateful that I'm standing here. I trust all of you. I believe in your ability to think logically. I am perfectly sure that you all will be able to get the message from this little warning I've gathered. Right. Desperate nodding swept across the crowd. Krish, I noticed, refrained from this. Right. Yi leisurely took a few steps back. You know, I really am sympathetic to your plight. I get frustration at the Duats, but there are some certainties in life you simply have to make your peace with and accept. Going against the Duats, it's just something that people like you are incapable of. So that's it, huh? With anger burning in their eyes, Krish stood up. Duats are just too big and bad and scary to be dealt with. Just because they're scary, you're too afraid to stand up to them. That's bullshit, Mr. Yi, and you know it. You took a step back, a bit surprised. Uh-oh. Krish, they are about to... Oh no. We're in danger. Insert that meme format with Robert Downey Jr. on it. They are about to cause problems on purpose. He looked temporarily lost for words. Krish took advantage of this momentary lapse in Yi's control to continue their crusade. You asking for complaints? Well, I've got some. How about how the Duats have been running small businesses into the ground? Somehow don't target those in power. Target those without it. Where's the justice in that? What's right about hurting people just trying to make a living? What's right about forcing my father's cafe to close down? Forcing me into poverty? You say that the Duats have a symbiotic relationship with Panthea, and I say that's bullshit. What do you give us? Protection? Yeah, is that like how you extort people for protection money? You know who that protection's against? It's against fucking you. Do you know what protection means? Have y'all opened a fucking dictionary? I know you know this, Mr. Yi. I know you're better than this. You always talk about doing the right things. Where the fuck's all that talk now? Now that it's needed. Don't give me some pussy excuse about Duats being unbeatable. That's goddamn baby talk and you know it. Give me a straight up answer as to who the hell you've become. What the hell you've done. At this point, Krish was standing mere inches from Yi's face. Krish's fists were balled so tight I thought they might hurt themselves. Krish, you fucking idiot. Krish. I already gave you time to make your complaints. You should have spoken up then. Then in one swift motion, he punched Krish right in the gut. They fell to one knee, clearly stunned. However, this stun didn't last long. Krish began to stand up in a huff. Yi, what the hell? Once more, Yi punched Krish right in the gut. It felt like he was winding his punch up, and yet I couldn't hear the impact from here. Yi definitely didn't look that strong, but clearly I was mistaken. Indeed, perhaps it was only overly idealistic to imagine that things could be resolved with speech alone. Alas, the philosopher in me gets the better of me once more. On one knee, Krish glared at Yi with an expression of no longer anger, but profound sadness. Come on then, get up. That sadness was replaced with confusion at these words. Still, Krish slowly complied, clearly not entirely sure what the point of it was. The point was made abundantly clear when once again Yi struck Krish right in the gut. At this, Krish cried out in audible pain. That fucking bastard. Keep it cool. Keep it cool. This was still mild enough. It could get worse. Don't get overeager. Krish was now nursing the spot in which they were struck with their hands. Okay. Get up. But get up. For a moment, Krish just kneeled there, unsure what to do. Eventually, though, they conceded and began to stand up once more. And once more, Yi struck Krish squarely in the stomach. Barely any time passed between Krish falling back down and Yi's next predictable command. Get up. Thud. Thud. Again and again, the surprisingly mundane cycle repeated. It was very simple. Someone stood up, then was punched in the gut. Repeat. By the look of Krish's face, you couldn't argue its effectiveness. Get up. I can't, please. Oh, I know you, Krish. You've always been remarkably strong in spirit. Hey, that's why you were able to call everyone together here in the first place, right? Here, let me help you. He leaned in and helped Krish to come to their feet. Then he took a step back and slammed Krish in the gut once more. Then right as soon as Krish got off the floor, he began to help them to their feet once more. Don't look at me like that, Krish. I know I said this before, but you should be thanking me right now. It's standard protocol for Duat torture to be a lot rougher than this. It should be something scarring. It should be something with a lasting effect, like breaking your arm or something. Some have really nasty ways of doing it. Ever see one of those devices they clamp to your finger, that you turn and it drills under your fingernails? Truly revolting. It makes my stomach cave. In comparison, this is like getting off incredibly light. Just getting punched in the gut a few times. Most people go through something like that at some point in their life. Without another word, Yi slammed Krish in the gut once again. Yi's point was thoroughly made. Barely anybody in the crowd could stand to even look at the spectacle anymore. You noticed that Zhao was beginning to wince at the display. Though conversely, a slight grin started to spread across Fang's face. Anyways, he had made himself perfectly clear. And yet... You know, sometimes I don't think you're going to get the message. Somehow I don't think you're going to get the message from just this. I am. You are? You sure? I am. Krish couldn't manage to maintain eye contact with Yi. Probably because they were lying. Yi was right. Something this light wouldn't change Krish. The only reason Krish wasn't fighting back was because of all the potential collateral damage sitting around them. Well, if you say so. What the hell, one more for good measure. Krish sighed and got to their feet once more. Now, let's give her the old rope-a-dope. He began winding up and then released one final brutal swing right into the Krish's stomach. They were completely knocked to their feet. In the crash, a certain dark green notebook came falling out of Krish's back pocket. Oh no. He looked at the notebook with some interest. Fuck. Oh, what do we have here? Don't touch that. Krish cried out, but it was too late. He had already picked it up and began rifling through it with interest. I see. This is your little ideas journal, huh? Stories and things you want to write. Come on, speak, will you? It is. I see. He nonchalantly flipped through the pages. Interesting stuff here. I mean, nothing useful, but interesting. Really intend to be a writer, huh? Like you want that to be your job? I do. Krish answered this with much more conviction. Wrong choice. Well, that's no damn good at all, is it? Huh? I mean, put the practicalities of the market aside and look at yourself, Krish. Really, look at yourself. Stop it. You know, Krish, I really do believe you've got greatness inside of you. Problem is, I've never been too much of an Aristotelian. A believer in the theory of forms, you see. Everyone should strive for excellence in the field they're meant to. Striving for forms that you aren't goes against the natural order. Waste of talent, waste of time. I knew what was about to happen. Readied myself. And then, I waited. Sad sigh, Yi tossed the journal to the nearby trash fire. Oh shit. In a panic, Krish jumped out to try and save it, but Yi was prepared. Kick to the gut, and Krish was back on their knees. The journal meant a lot to Krish. Could have saved it if I had acted then. But thinking about it logically, that journal wasn't worth much. A collection of written ideas. Wasn't worth compromising my position for something like that. Not in a matter of life and death. Hey, I admire the guts wanting for something like that. Trust me, I've been there, done that. Didn't work. He leaned down to Krish. Look for one piece of sewer trash to another, take my advice. Stay in your lane. A journal, a complete waste, a siren song. And hey, read through a bunch of that. Really nothing of value was thought. Ooh, Krish had had enough. Rage, they struck out, letting a solid straight punch right to Yi's jaw. Yi was sent reeling by the blow. Ah! God, fuck! He began rubbing his face. The place the blow landed. Oh, Krish, you little shit, you really shouldn't have. I'm doing you a favor here. I'm being generous to you. To all of you. He was now bellowing, looking out to the whole group. For the first time, Yi was blatantly irritated. For a moment, it looked like he was going to go into frenzy. Instead, Yi took a breath. Just like that, he recomposed himself. Ah well, that's the way it goes, isn't it? Naive. Still naive, Yi. Think of Carlin's rule. Measure the average person, and realize half the population is stupider than that. From the start, I needed a better example. And with that, Yi reached behind him and pulled out a flat wooden stick he had been keeping tucked in his pants, behind his jacket. Then with his spare hand, he unsheathed the stick to reveal that this was no mere wooden block, but a very short iron sword. More an oversized knife, to be honest. So everyone, you know Krish here. He's a pretty bright young lad. But he's a painfully stupid young lad. I think he just volunteered to be an example as to what the Duats could get away with. Alright, I'd stall for as long as possible. Letting things proceed without intervention any longer. Getting into the serious repercussion territory. Currently, I possess the element of surprise. What to do with it? Carefully, there was a clear target I needed to take out first. Earlier, Zouchi had his hand in his pocket. Looking at the bulge, I'm pretty sure he was carrying. Best to stun the person with a gun at the start. I could skip the action minigame. See if I remember how to do it. To make sure my attack landed true. A falling attack. Jump kick, jump strike, fall punch, fall kick, jump punch. Fall strike. I slammed it as Ouchie with a falling strike. Much of my fall hurt me a bit, but it hurt that guy a hell of a lot more. Probably is the right answer. Much of my fall hurt me a bit, but hurt that guy a hell of a lot more. Zouchi was clearly not a fighter. With just this attack, he crumpled like a bag of bricks. But I couldn't let up, not for a second. Guess that was a win. Element of surprise didn't last very long. Next biggest threat, the Goliath. Charge, slam, punch, jump punch, throw, jump kick. Jump strike. Kept my momentum up and charged right at the Goliath. Like a bullet, I shot at him. Once I got in range, I jumped up and struck at him with all my force. Did a bit of damage, but not enough. Win-win? The man flinched, but only temporarily. Then he geared up for a counterattack. Punch, throw, right hook, left uppercut, charge, overhead slam, right uppercut. Right hook? Oh shit. Bollocks. Yes, I'm safe scumming, I don't care. punch, throw, right hook, left uppercut, charge, overhead slam, right uppercut. Left hook. Fighting speed and competency, the Goliath swung at me with his left arm. The last moment I ducked under the attack, grabbing a nearby discarded trash can lid in the process. When his arm passed by, I jumped up and slammed the side of the lid into the side of his head. The man flinched and lowered a bit in response to the attack, giving me the opportunity to lift the lid and slam it down like an axe. That one landed, causing the man to stumble back. Even with that monster blow, I was experienced enough to know that he was far from defeated. Okay, progress. This guy would take all of my attention. Best to first deal with the two looming fighters regaining their senses every second. Pushed over towards them, making my way past the civilians on the floor. I charged Xia, he ready to attack at me. Right uppercut, left hook. Left uppercut, punch. Jump kick, throw. Right slam, charge. Right hook. Xia tried throwing a right hook at my charging figure. However, he mistimed it. Right before I got into range, I paused, but Xia took the swing anyways. Now off kilter, I rushed forward and slammed him in the gut with a kick to his right side. Then I pushed past him, hoping to make an attack on his sister. Of course, the sister was ready for me. Upper right swing, lower left swing. Oh god, mid left, lower right, mid right. Right, shit. That was a lot. Alright, let's try this again. Upper right, okay. Lower left. Mid left. Lower right. Mid right. Lower left? Ah, bollocks. Okay. Up right, low left. Mid left, low right, mid right. What? What? Okay. Up right, low left, mid left, low right, mid right. Upper right? Okay, upper right. Low, mid, up. Upper left. That's missing. The girl swung her metal bat from the upper right, upper left quadrant, meaning the blow would land in the lower right quadrant. Ducked over to the left, the weapon barely missed the side of my head. Instead of considering how close I just came to imminent death, I punched Xia squarely in the side of the chest. With this moment of opportunity, I continued by giving her a straight punch to the nose. She stumbled backwards, but I heard a sound from behind. Xia had recovered, ready to strike back at me. No sooner had I noticed that, than Xia took a step forward, ready to strike at me again. Oh boy. Here we go. Rockin' a hard place. Hook swing, uppercut, kick, straight swing, uppercut slam, hook slam. Bollocks. Hook swing, uppercut kick, straight swing, uppercut slam. Uppercut swing? Xia, strangely enough, was going for an uppercut punch. Xia was going to swing her bat at me. A brilliant instant, I realized what I had to do. Nothing! Well, not quite true. I moved out of the way of the incoming attacks. And in the center where I once stood, Xia's bat connected with Xia's fist. Xia howled in pain, and Xia recoiled slightly, realizing what she had done. That recoil was all I needed. I jumped up and kicked Xia right in the stomach. I pushed off her body, using the momentum to power my punch at Xia's face. I didn't stop moving that direction after the punch connected, however. Instead, I charged straight past at Fang. At this point, the man had fully recovered and was making his way over to deal with me. I couldn't have that. This many opponents, I needed to stay on the offensive, making them react to me. Fang saw, perhaps expected my charge, and prepared to retaliate in turn. Oh god, what? Grit. Grin, grind, grapple. Grab. What? It did say grapple in it. That says grapple. Yeah, grapple. Fang's arms outstretched wide, prepared to grab onto me the moment I got within range. Fuck, it wasn't a good counterattack. I think I did, this man would take in stride and proceed to restrain me. Meanwhile, in the corner of my eye, I noticed Zouchi. The one with the gun was fumbling with something in his pocket. Didn't have time to tango with Fang. Just leaped low past him, avoiding his attempt to grab me. I almost lost my footing in this maneuver, but persisted in my run at Zouchi. Zouchi noticed my charge, let out a slight yelp, and put up his arm to try and block my attack. Oh shit, overhead slam, grab. Right hook, left uppercut, jump punch, right uppercut. Charge. Zouchi braced for a punch. I didn't throw a punch. I just slammed into him with the full weight of my body. This completely broke his guard, and after I took a step back, the kick I sent in his head connected easily. I could have continued to bully this punching bag for a while, but I noticed the bigger problems I had. Turned around, and sure enough, right in front of me, Fang stood, fists clenched. Oh boy. Here we go. To my right, Jia and Jia were just as close, both aiming to take a swing at me. Zouchi on my left would only stay stunned for so long. Take his gun, take his gun. Shit, too many enemies, too many possible attacks. What to do? What could I do? Brain was in overdrive. Oh god, jump, kick, slam, right hook, left uppercut, lower left swing. Dive. Too many opponents, too many factors. Needed an out, but where? There, between Fang and Jia, there was enough space. I launched my body into a low dive and got through the opening while avoiding the attacks of both parties. I kept running a few more feet before reaching the alley's other wall. I came to a running turn, but at this point I was faced with a very similar sight. Fang was upon me, Jia right behind him. Jia was flanking my left, and back to the right, Zouchi was still fumbling with his gun. Why didn't we take his gun? Shouldn't have to deal with that. I was starting to feel a little bit fatigued. I was far from out of the fight. Uh-oh, we got another one coming? What's the next thing I should... That's enough! Suddenly Yi shouted out, catching everybody's attention. Damn it, I had completely forgotten about him. His blade around the neck of that white-haired girl I saw whispering to Krish earlier. She was quite understandably frightened. Impressive show, Hoodie, but I think it's time for you to put it to rest. Or else there's going to be more examples than necessary to get the point across. He grimaced. This was bad. Honestly, that was quite a display. Golf claps all around. But I'd wager you're an experienced enough fighter to know you're picking a losing battle. Why don't you spare my men some dignity and just call it quits here? Keep roughing them up and you're going to start giving some of them self-esteem issues. I wanted to argue back, but the truth of the matter was that Yi was correct. I was surrounded by experienced armed thugs. What if surprise propelled me for a while in that fight? They had all come back to their senses. Frankly, I doubt I could take down the Goliath in a one-on-one setting. Factor in that fat bastard and that Wonder Twins, and the Wonder Twins heaping on my heels, and I have no chance. As Yi already pointed out, unintended casualties were too risky a factor. Tch. If only these sheep would do something. If they had been paying attention, they'd have remembered that a pistol was flung over Jia and Jia's heads earlier. With Jia and Jia out of the way, and with Zouchi unarmed, getting your hands on that pistol would get instant control over the situation. Or hell, just run away, get out of here. Which was the problem with Krish's plan from the beginning. It relied on bringing a bunch of people together. But people lose their efficiency as a group. They don't gate it. Most persons are smart. People are dumb as hell. Better to handle things yourself or employ others intelligently. Well, that was besides the point. The fact of the matter was I had lost. Game over. Reluctantly, I got on my knees. Yi smirked. Well now, looks like we should have been paying more attention to the new guy in town after all. So then... And just then Yi paused, as he heard what we all heard. The faint sound of an approaching siren. For an instant I could feel the fear that had slowly begun to build in my gut dissipate. Thank God. I had stretched just enough time out to save our asses. See, this is why you need to be smart when deploying your trump cards. Sometimes you really do need all the utility you can squeeze out of the situation before you bring them in. While Krish and the others looked relieved, he looked incredibly frustrated. For a moment he paced nervously, then threw his hands up in defeat. Fine. You guys have clearly gotten the point. I think this little demonstration has made it crystally clear that this whole endeavor is a dumb fucking idea. Listen, we all know your faces. We'll know your names. Don't start shit. Keep your head low, and all of us will be doing just fine. Now scram! He brushed his hand away, shooting the crowd down the alleyway. As he did this, his members reluctantly made their way to the doorway Jia and Jia had been waiting in earlier. Many of the gathered crowd didn't need to hear Yi's advice twice. They scurried away, certain to never cross the Duats again. However, quite a few were unsure what to do and just stood there, dazed. Well, some of them stood there, dazed. Hey, hold on, why should we be running? Y'all, we're the victims in all this. The cops are on our side. There's no need to run. We should stay, this is an opportune chance. At this, Yi scowled. However, before he could speak up, I did. Drop it, Krish. We're saving our asses, we'd call that a win. For real? Krish looked confused and a little hurt by my suggestion. Just being practical. He just made a big deal about how the Duats strike back. We didn't know who or how many were coming to our aid. At the very least, I doubt staying would do us much good. It had the potential to just get us in more shit. The tactical thing was to just flee. You heard what your friend said, Krish. Scram! Krish hesitated, but then began to begrudgingly jog down the alley. And with them, the rest of the group followed. He gave me a curt nod, and began to walk towards the door the others had fled to, which meant he wasn't looking at me. Oh? I told the others to get out of here, but I didn't say anything about what I'd be doing. As quietly as I could, I scaled the exact same drain pipe, settled on the exact same scaffolding as I had before. You might think it was dumb to pull the exact same move twice in a row. That was probably why they wouldn't expect me to do the exact same thing. Maybe. Worst comes to worst, from my position, I scanned the surroundings. Sure enough, there was a nearby fire escape I could jump to at my height. I could use that to make my escape and could easily get away, pretty risk-free. Yeah, it was worth the risk to start spying. After frankly far too long, I saw a police officer coming down the alley. They likely parked nearby. It was a balding, slightly fidgety man. Seth? Seth. He walked down the alley at a brisk pace with his right hand clearly placed atop his holster. Further down the alley stood Yi, nonchalantly leaned against the door his comrades had exited through. A bold move, staying around, but perhaps an understandable one. Was this standard procedure? So, Yi, funny to see you here. A pleasure, Seth. You know, I'm not just here for fun. There was a call placed, a report. So there was a major situation here. Big incident of gang violence or something. Big beatdown. Oh, sounds positively dreadful. Yeah, well, sounds a little far-fetched. Hearing about gang violence, I was sent to, check it out. So then, well, you wouldn't happen to know anything about this report, would you? I figure I would. You would? And why's that? Not because I was inciting that gang violence. Inciting gang violence, well, that's just not good at all. Did you know that's a crime? Is it? It is. Which means it's my job to haul you into the station. The two stared each other down for a beat. Without looking behind him, he knocked on the door. Oh no! Coast's clear, boys. I fucking knew it. Zhao, Jia, and Fang all made their way back into the alley. Seth didn't look particularly troubled by this until Zhao began getting in his face. The fuck, Seth? You totally friggin' ruined everything. We're in the middle of doing our shit, and then when you came, we totally had to break it up. We're practically interfering with official Duat business. Seth's gaze dropped down. Oh dear, I'm so sorry about that, really. I hate to offend. Was anything anything I could do to... As he was saying this, Seth nervously put a hand on Zhao Qi's shoulder. In the middle of his sentence, Seth pulled down hard on the back of Zhao Qi's neck and lifted his left knee with a fury. What? Seth made solid contact, landing a pretty gnarly-looking blow on Zouchi. Damn! Immediately covered his nose with his hand, trying to soften the pain. However, just as soon as he did that, Seth also covered Zhao's face with his hand, pushing him back. Zouchi stumbled over and landed right on his back. You're seriously pinning this on me, dipshit. How the fuck was I supposed to know what the hell was going on? Should be thanking your lucky stars is able to get some clearance to handle that report. And also, how long does it take for you guys to do your damn jobs? I took so many detours on my way here, it took me twice as long to arrive than it would for any standard officer. So Seth is corrupt. He put his hands up diplomatically. Relax, relax. Nobody here's trying to criticize you, you're doing just fine. Ignore Zhao over there, he's a dipshit. Zhao didn't look too pleased to be both injured and insulted in such a short time frame, but he also surely wasn't going to bring that up now. Honestly, I feel as though you guys don't appreciate the risks I'm taking. How much of your shit I gotta deal with. You don't appreciate it. Everyone appreciates you. Hey, Seth, you're doing great. He held out a thumbs up. Oh, bite me. If it hadn't been clear beforehand, that little conversation was the final nail. Seth was as dirty as they come. A Duat agent in the police force. Shifty little shit. Still, this was really a blessing. They clearly didn't realize I was here. So I forget a recording of this conversation. I patted my pocket. Instantly, a bolt of horror jolted through my spine. Where's my phone? Looked around the scaffolding, then around the alley, and then I saw it. Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding with me. Lying face down in the alley, I spotted my phone. It fall out of my pocket at some point during the brawl. Go fuck yourself, God. Not even a little bit funny. Whatever. Even if I couldn't get proof, I'd have to settle for info. This was really fucking annoying. I can't help but notice that your guys were already a bit roughed up when I got here. What's that about? That. To be honest, it was a complete blindside. There's a newcomer in this town. Came in for the save. The newcomer? I mean, I have to assume. Never really got a great look at him, what with the hoodie and the fighting and whatnot. Those arm tattoos, they were pretty damn distinctive. They were black and swirly, ringing any bells. What? Someone in a hoodie with arm tattoos? Yeah, funny enough, that's not ringing any bells. Alright, smartass, I get it. He took a cigarette out of his pocket and held it out to Fang. Fang took his lighter and lit it for Yi. Okay then. Guess I'll have to look into our mystery guest myself. And then, depending on what I figure out, I suppose I'll handle it. Please, don't tell me what I don't need to know. I am not saying anything specific. In all seriousness, can you just, find someone like that? It's a small city. And Duats got eyes in more places than you'd think. Might take a bit, but you really can't hide for long. And then, unfortunately. God, it's really a sick profession that you dabble in. Oh, you think you're much better? I'm not talking about morals or anything. I'm talking about, having the stomach for it and all. I mean, to do what you do. Pretty sure I'd get stomach ulcers. Yeah, well, you're you. I think most people without a craving for violence would react similarly. No, I really do think it's a you thing. Whatever. Look, think about it like this. To even get here, I had to pretty much brutally betray the trust of someone who looked up to me. And you know how much guilt I felt about doing that. None. Not an ounce. Easy. Have to keep my composure. When you put it in that context, breaking a few bones or whatever, Child's play. I guess. So, wasn't worth it. Might have if you didn't break things up so quickly. I told you. Easy, just messing with you. You really are wound up like a screw, huh? Twider. 3 guesses why. Anyways, I think for the most part the point was made. You'll by and large take the easy way out. That is unless they're spurred to action. And that's where I have my concerns. You're talking about Krish. It's been a minute since anyone but ye or Seth had spoken up. Touche. Ye nodded solemnly. Kid has real spirit, I mean that. It's the type that can cause a problem. At the moment, Krish certainly has the motive and the fire to cause trouble. So I figure it's my duty to get a handle on that before it spirals into anything else. To start with, I need to actually find the brat. And then? I don't know. Hoping Krish will listen to reason. Could be a useful addition to the roster. Someone with that many ties to Panthea's community. Do you really think Krish is likely to flip? At this, he took a real pause. Took a long puff from his cigarette. Then he dropped it to the ground and put it out with his foot. Suppose not. Alright then, guess we gotta kill him. Could feel my heart sink. It's a shame, a proper shame, I'm telling you. That's just how it goes. You're looking for this Krish to be dealt with. Feels like that's how it has to happen. Alright then. I know of Krish. It's necessary I could make a mistake, you know. Oh god. Loud and clear, loud and clear. Well, good to know you're on our side. Although you'd have to be pretty lucky to stumble upon Krish before our guys do. Right. That's for the best, too. I want to deal with shit if I don't have to. Poor bastards continued to talk, but at this point it was all getting drowned out. Drowned out by the buzzing in my ear. It's going to be difficult to navigate. Ooh, we got a silver key. Once again, the cops have to come in and be a buzzkill. And just when things were getting good. Lame. Fuck, Seth, you ruined a perfectly good show. But it was nice when it lasted. Seth did certainly give us a bit of information that's going to reverberate through other story routes. And all the key elements that create great stories. Tension, drama, tragedy, intimidation, torture, degradation. It was fantastic. I loved looking in on it. You did too, right? No, it was depressing as fuck. No. Oh, really? Who are you kidding? And of course, Vels enjoyed the scene. Right? I mean, if you didn't enjoy the scene, you had the opportunity to drop down and break it up. You imagine that you would, right? Even if there was a logical reason not to just sit there and watch everything unfold. Either you didn't really mind what you were seeing all that much, or you're a total sociopath. Guess I can't clown on Vels too much, though. After all, the method worked out. Yeah, on an emotional level, you could tell. I think it's a bit cruel calling Vels a complete sociopath, because you could tell they were having to fight off the urge to intervene when he went to destroy Krish's writing notebook. That was cruel. I think that speech of his is what made this episode really fucking depressing. He's quite the cool criminal, it appears. Speaking of... Look, if you take him at his word, you could maybe make the argument that he's, in some way, doing this for Krish. But come on, I'm fucked up, and even I would make the argument that you can't justify putting a hit out on someone for their own good. So I guess I have to give you the win on this bet. Oh? Honestly, maybe it was a little easy. He was pretty obviously sketchy. Oh well, having a few easy ones to start out with is fine. Won't get easier from here. Regardless, Vels has bigger problems than you. I honestly don't remember what the bet was from the first chapter. From the first chapter of this case. I will have to look back and research this. Information gather. The hacker. Okay, yeah. We voted to not trust ye. And we were right to not trust ye. God, this Vels has bigger problems than you. Well, actually, I'd say Krish has bigger problems. Pursued by the Duats, pursued by the cops. There's now a noose closing around their neck, whether they know it or not. I wonder if Vels will be able to save them. I wonder if Vels will choose to save them, especially if it comes at some cost. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. No bet. Got a buttload of chips now. Winning that bet. Oh, speaking of depressing, we gotta go hang out with Hacker Man next episode. Not Hacker Man, Reddit Troll Man next episode. Oh god. Well, here's hoping. Here's hoping that Vels' story has some sort of positive resolution. Because that was depressing. I don't want this to be, don't want this to be a takeaway from all this. That you should stay in your lane. I don't know. What do you... And not... I don't know. Maybe that's that bit of Yee's speech there. Maybe that's just hitting me harder than most because that's a particular insecurity of mine that's stopped me plenty in the past. And plenty of other things I've wanted to do at times. Maybe that's just affecting me more than most because it's happens to be a big happens to be a struggle in my own head. So don't want that to be a takeaway from this story. But stay in your lane, let people trample all over you, and you'll be fine. No, fuck that. Also confirmed this episode, the cops are on the side of your oppressors. They're here to maintain power over you. So fuck that shit. Fucking Seth. I actually kind of liked you in Laverna's stories. Now to find out you're fucking corrupt. God damn it. Well, this has been a long episode. Till next time, until then. If you like it, if you like doing what you're doing as a hobby, you have dreams of doing it more, no matter how good you are at it, if you enjoy it, fuck what anyone has to say. If you enjoy it, keep doing it. I say that for you as much as it is for myself. Till next time, until then, thanks for watching.